Shabbat Shalom to everyone joining us on Facebook and all of you already here on Zoom. We're going to get Jal starting us with a melody. Jal, go until 06.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We are going to start with, actually, we haven't done this song in a while, so I'm glad that we're bringing it back around, and hopefully this will get you into an uplifted mood tonight for Shabbat. It's really easy. You don't need to know the lyrics. You just have to know bim bam, bitty bitty bam, bitty bitty bim bam. You'll catch on. Bim bam, bitty bitty bam, bitty bitty bim bam, bitty bitty bam, bim bam, bitty bim bam, bitty bim bam, bitty bitty bam, bim bam, bitty bitty bam, bitty bitty bim bam, bitty bitty bam, bim bam, bitty bim bam, bitty bim bam, bitty bitty bam. Bim bam, bitty bitty bam, bitty biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum biddy bim bum biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum bim bum biddy biddy bum biddy biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum bim bum biddy bim bum biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum. You can clap. Bim bum biddy biddy bum biddy biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum bim bum biddy bim bum biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum. Bim bum biddy biddy bum biddy biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum bim bum biddy bim bum biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum. Last time. Bim bum biddy biddy bum biddy biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum bim bum biddy bim bum biddy bim bum biddy biddy bum.
Shabbat Shalom, and welcome everybody who is joining us here in our Zoom room or on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. You can watch this in so many different ways. And we are so happy to have you tonight. This is December 4th. We have made it to the last month of 2020. And we are really counting the days to the end of 2020. I think we had enough of 2020, and we are ready to move on. So this is Shabbat of the last month of 2020, and I'd like to invite you for just a moment to appreciate wherever you are on this journey. We are all traveling through our life. And I think our goal is to do that as mindfully as we possibly can. To be present, in fact, to the moments of great joy and the moments of great pain. Such is a human life. I read somewhere that people who live through historical times don't know they are when they are in the middle of it. That only years later can we look back and reflect on what has happened, take stock, learn, grow. And I think we are, in fact, moving through historical times right now, and it's hard when we are caught in it. But practices of mindfulness allow us, in fact, to create a little spaciousness, a little distance from the events, to drop from the worries and the stories of the mind into the embrace of the heart. So I'd like to invite you for this time we have together tonight to let yourself drop into the heart space. To let go of all the stories of the world, of all the infighting and outfighting, of all the darkness that the world is trying to engulf us into. And to dwell into the light of your being on this Shabbat. We're days away from rekindling the lights of Chanukah, a time of rededication. And in these days leading up to our first candle, perhaps it is time to turn inward and see what it is that we might want to rededicate our life, ourselves, our being to. As 2020 will come to a close and a leaf will turn and a new beginning, a new dawn will happen. Who do we want to be in this new era? How do we want to contribute? It is clear to us that we will not be going back to quote unquote normal. Normal is gone. And so we're going to have to figure out the being we want to discover or embody in this upcoming secular year. One thing for sure is that as we do every Shabbat, we will have to dedicate a part of who we are, a part of our life, a part of our energy to supporting those around us that might be in need. See, all the little rituals we do on Shabbat are there to infuse our life with examples of how to live a spiritually guided life. And to lead a spiritually guided life means that we practice tzedakah. We practice justice. We practice charity of the heart. These days at Bet Aleph, we welcome your tzedakah, we welcome your gifts of the heart, and we share them with an organization that is called Aurora Commons. It's an organization that welcomes those suffering from homelessness, which in these times of pandemic have and will continue to see their numbers grow exponentially. It is a space, a sacred space for our unhoused neighbors to find a place to rest, a place to prepare a meal with others, a place to build community, a place to be connected to the resources that they might need to face the next day and the next day after that. And to create together a community of support. So I invite you to go to our website and find the donation link, and in that donation link to look for the pull down menu that says type and then Shabbat and then tzedakah. And make donations in multiples of 18. I'd love to receive an email from them that says, we receive 25 donations of $18. Why? Why $18? So we can engage in that kind of conversation. I will look for the link and put it in our chat box as well as in the Facebook page in just a moment. But for now, I'd like to invite all of us to light our candles. I hope you have them set up for yourselves. We continue with a song called Shalom Aleichem. Let me find in our prayer book where the words are. Celia is going to lead us into that song. It is on page 14 in your prayer book. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Yom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So I'm hoping that you have found your candles and kindled them, and I'm going to ask you now to turn back to page 1 in your prayer book. That's where the blessing is. And before we say the blessing, let me share. There's so many of you who have let the office know all the reasons why so many are lighting candles tonight. Donna Glosser, I saw her earlier. She joined in early. Is lighting a candle tonight in honor of her father, Ephraim Glosser, on his yard site. Nathaniel and Diana Rose are lighting a candle tonight for Klaus Schuler, who died suddenly of a heart attack on Wednesday. He was a friend of Diana's and father of Nathaniel's friend. He was a warm and loving husband and father, a skilled and caring ER physician, camping buddy. He taught Nathaniel Dungeons and Dragons, and he was actually the dungeon master for Nathaniel's first group. The family community from Nathaniel's middle school expressed, together with Diana and Nathaniel, their shock and their grieving at this sudden loss. And we are grieving with you as well. John Danker, who emailed us from Colorado, is a BRF member who joined us for many classes and events. He's lighting a candle for his aunt, Fern Danker O'Connor. She passed away on November 9th, shortly after celebrating her 90th birthday. Elizabeth Heath is lighting a candle tonight in honor and memory of Dennis Reagan on his 10th yard site. Lynn Carroll is here tonight lighting a candle in honor of a friend, Benito, just on this Shabbat. And Celia Curran, who is joining us as well with her beautiful voice on Shabbat, is lighting a candle tonight in celebration of the 1-year anniversary at her job with High Five Farms. I was going to call it a new job, but after a year, you can't do that anymore. The blessing is on page 1. As I said earlier, it is traditional to cover our eyes if we know the words, to remind us that the words are only a reflection of the energies and the intentions we set to light the light of being that we seek to reconnect to on this Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. Amen. And we're going to continue tonight with our worship, the worship part of our service, turning to page 5. And we're going to be sharing out loud together. First the Baruch Hu, then the Shema. I think tonight I want to do a little bit differently than I did last time. I want to invite everyone to unmute just for saying the Baruch Hu together before Diana chants it with us. So I'm going to ask you all to unmute if you want, just if you want, you don't have to. And then we'll say the blessing together. Join me. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Bless the Eternal, the one who is
blessing.
Baruch Adonai Ach Le'olam Va'ed. Blessed is
the Eternal,
the one who is blessing.
eternally.
I'm going to mute everybody again, and Diana will unmute herself to lead us into the song. And at the top of page 6, I'm going to ask you again to unmute yourselves so we can chant the 6 words of the Shema, the words that are the central affirmation, the meditation mantra of our tradition. The words of the Shema. Join me. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Listen,
Israel.
Israel.
The Eternal manifests
Manifests as all that is,
the eternal
is one.
Baruch
Baruch Shem Kavod
Leolam
Va'ed.
Va'ed is the
Is
name.
the name,
The
the splendor of its presence
Shines
shines
eternally.
Presence shines eternally.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
And we continue still on page 6 in the middle of the page with the words that follow the 6 words of the Shema in Torah. The Ve'ahavta words that are calling us to open our heart and to love fully and completely, unreservedly, the life that is our life, the world that is our world. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך, בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת. I think the theme for tonight, as we will discover in a moment once I share in my Dvar Torah, is the theme of names. There's a great importance in names in our tradition, and I'll say more about that. But there is a whole book of the Torah which usually gets translated as Exodus, which in Hebrew is not Exodus. In Hebrew is called Shemot. And literally in Hebrew is the book of names, because it starts with Ele Shemot. These are the names of all the children of Israel who came to dwell in the land of Egypt. And so the whole book is called These Are the Names. There are gorgeous songs, Israeli songs, that call us to remember names of loved ones, names that we call out, for on our memorial services, on our yard sites. We always call out the names. The names we give each other in the Hebrew traditions are, we don't have last names, we only have first names, but we are the first name, son or daughter of somebody else's first name. And so we'll talk a little bit more about how this is so juicy and so beautiful in Jewish tradition in just a moment. But because I was looking into making this Shabbat, the theme of the Shabbat being names, Diana offered to sing the gorgeous song that has the names of God. In Jewish tradition, even God has many names. In fact, God has, according to tradition, 72 names. One of the names of God is the place. Another one is love, being. There are so many different names that God has. But there are several of those names that we use more often than others. The one we use as Adonai. And that's the name that is actually not spelled Adonai, but it's spelled Yud He Vav He. Usually we transliterate it as YHVH to kind of give us the sense of what those four letters might look like in a different language. But they are not. This is the name of God that is never to be pronounced. This is the name of God that is unspoken. This is the name of God that is actually not a name. It's just four letters that are a placeholder for what should be an empty space. But if in our level of consciousness we would live in empty space, then we would forget from one generation to the other why that empty space was there, and so we would fill it. And so our sages said, in order to preserve what should be an empty space, we're going to put four letters there. In Hebrew, the Yud, the He, the Vav, and the He are a scramble of the verb to be, if he was past, present, and future at the same time. So it's inviting us into an apprehending an isness that is a transcendent presence. So it should be a silence, but we can't. So we use the word Adonai instead of that silence. But when Diana sings Adonai and calls out the energies of that word, which is not a name, the nameless name, imagine that emptiness that is within all of us, out of which everything arises and within which everything recedes again. That's Adonai. And then she's going to sing about Eloheinu Elohim. Elohim is the manifest aspect of the divine. The divine as everythingness. everything. It's hard for us to fathom, but the divine as expressing as a speck of dust, as our eyebrows and our prayer shawls, our candles and our computers, the divine that is everything and everyone, the totality of existence, of manifest existence. And Eloheinu is the nu is the us. So it's Eloheinu is a remembering that it also manifests as nu, as all of us, all of us. And then the last word, the last name for God is El Shaddai, and it's the name of God as an energy that sets boundaries, that makes differentiation. That's how creation comes to be, when we create boundaries, and then we merge back with the totality of infinite consciousness when we dissolve those boundaries. But manifestation can only happen if there is this creator of boundaries, of seeming separation, of seeming multitude, and that's El Shaddai. And it's a meditative chant. So we perhaps going to invite you, actually I'm going to invite you, if you so choose, to kind of rest, sit back, and close your eyes. And it's a call and response, so you're invited to respond if you so feel moved, to pronounce and utter those names of God.
So when I chant, I'm going to say it twice, or I'm going to repeat a phrase. But the second time I say it, it's going to be softer, because that is the space in which you are to respond. So when you hear me say it softly, that is an invitation for you to respond. And then I will call, and then you will respond. Adonai, 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 Eloheinu, Elohim, Eloheinu, Elohim, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Adonai, Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohim, Eloheinu, Elohim, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Adonai, 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 Eloheinu, Elohim, Eloheinu, Elohim, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Adonai, 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 Eloheinu, Elohim, Eloheinu, Elohim, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Adonai, 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 Eloheinu, Elohim, Eloheinu, Elohim, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai.
So wherever you are, just stay in that space, perhaps with your eyes closed, that's okay. I wanted to share with you a few words about this week's Torah portion because I always feel a little pinch in my heart every year when we come to this week's Torah portion, which is, it goes without saying, one of my favorite Torah portions by far, by far. This is where we get to the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel, wrestling with God, really, during the fateful night of his return home after 21 years of forced exile. And the pinch in my heart is because of what happens at the end of this night of struggling, of wrestling. Jacob's reward for having wrestled with God and having prevailed is God's blessing and God's giving him a new name. And the new name Jacob is given is Israel, Yisrael, which means God wrestler. So important is this name that we, the Jewish people, to this day are called Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. We are not called Bnei Yaakov. We are not called the children of Jacob. We are called the Bnei Yisrael. So you would probably say, if I were to ask you, what's so terrible about that it should cause anyone to feel a pinch in one's heart? Well, it's because of what this blessing and this change of name says about Jacob. Names are given with great care in our tradition, for sure, in probably every tradition, but in our tradition, they are given with great care, either at birth or when chosen during a conversion. Names in Jewish tradition are not merely labels, rather they are seen as truly that which defines a person's identity, a person's essence, a person's spiritual strength, a person's life purpose. And so it is customary, after also surviving a major illness, or even with the intention of changing one's life path for the better, you would hope, to in fact change one's name. Because to change one's name, and there are rituals around that, to change one's name, we believe in Jewish tradition, impacts, changes one's destiny. So I can't help but feel that in this case, and at the end of this night of wrestling, that's what God does to Jacob by changing his name is exactly what our tradition means when someone changes his name in order to change their life path, their destiny. They're surviving a major illness. It denotes to me that God understands maybe Jacob's name to be defective. There is no mistake that God gives Jacob a new name and therefore carves for him a new path, a new destiny. Hence the pinch in my heart, because I think in doing so, God is acknowledging the need for Jacob to free himself from his birth name and carve a new and different path for himself. God is acknowledging the burden that Jacob's name has been on his life until now, how it has shaped him, molded him, and really not in a good, positive way. So how did Jacob get such a drag of a name? And I apologize right now to anyone named Jacob listening to this. Like I said, like I said before, and I'll say again, I am not an anti-Jacobite. I even have good friends who are Jacobs. So you know what that means. Now recall that Jacob was the second born, right? Jacob was the second born. He was pulled from the womb, clutching his twin brother's heel. That's the story, right? And so Jacob's name, his name literally means the one at the heel. I mean, some looser interpretation would really include basically the one who follows. That would be a good translation of his name. The one behind, or sarcastically, really the second string. That's his name. And up to that fateful night of wrestling, Jacob's whole and entire life has been an ongoing crisis of identity, an attempt to break the spell of his name and to carve a new path for himself, and with that, his place in the world. I mean, remember, he first desperately tries to remake himself into his brother Esau, his older brother. Esau, the firstborn. Not just the firstborn, but his father's favorite. And so what does he do? He wears Esau's clothes. He goes as far as wrapping his smooth Jacob body in pungent sheep skin in order to mimic Esau's hairy body and smell. He tricks Esau into selling him his birthright, and his blind father Isaac into giving him the inheritance blessing of the firstborn. And fearing his brother's wrath, Jacob has to run away to his uncle Lavan. And then through the next 20 years of his life, escaping as far away from home as possible, Jacob tries time and again to remake himself, to carve a destiny for himself. First, he becomes Jacob the husband. Twice, actually. And don't get me started with the story of him having to marry the firstborn daughter when he's in love with the secondborn, which he only gets to marry the second time. Jacob becomes also the head of the clan. Jacob is remaking himself as the wealthy entrepreneur, but nothing sticks. Not the distance, not anything that can quite fill the gaping hole within him of always seeing himself as the second string, the second best. A name like that can do a lot of damage on one's psyche, create a destiny wrapped up around transcending that name to the point that it colors everything one sees. And God saw that. God saw that in the story. And God freed him from this unbearable burden. God set him up for a new life, a new destiny with the name Israel. He no longer has to wrestle with his brother. He has transcended that. Now he wrestles with God. But what about us? What about us? Like what names or nicknames were we given as children? And how has that impacted us? In the same way, what names or nicknames have we unconsciously perhaps given our children? And how has that impacted them? You know, little nicknames, things we repeat unconsciously when something happens, like, the clumsy one, or the lazy one, or the jokester, or the goofball, right? We think it's cute. We think it's funny, but if it's repeated over and over again, it becomes a name that the child digests, that the child sucks up. What nicknames were we given in school? Or reversely, did we box other children into calling them names jokingly? Sometimes we don't even have to say the name out loud. It is enough for us to have associated someone with a nickname in our head to always see that person as embodying that nickname, and therefore to relate to them from that boxed in place, which unavoidably skews our relationship with them. And yes, we do that to ourselves too, right? Whatever we put after our I am, we are. Whatever nicknames follows I am, we are. So if any of that resonates with you, if any of that at some level is true for you, gift yourself a gorgeous Hanukkah gift this year, like I was talking about as we first started tonight. Gift yourself a new name. Gift yourself a new nickname. Change whatever you put after your I am this, I am that, whatever it is. Change whatever you put after your I am. Redefine yourself. Choose a different path. And do that for others too. Look at your main relationships and feel into the nicknames you might have labeled the people in your life with, whether verbally or just in your head or in your heart. God gave Jacob freedom. God gave Jacob freedom, a new life, a new purpose, a new essence by changing his name. So give the gift of freedom this Chanukah. Ken yehi ratzon. Amen.
This is called a chant of one. It's in several different languages: Arabic, Hebrew, and English. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Adonai hu ha-Elohim. Adonai hu ha-Elohim. It's someone and I am as I am. It's someone and I am as I am. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Adonai hu ha-Elohim. It's all one and I am as I am. It's all one and I am as I am.
So I'd like to invite you into a few moments of meditation. To simply rest back. And just connecting with the breath. And we'll start this meditation invoking one of the names of God, Shalom. We'll start with a threefold Shalom chant. Shalom. Shalom. And after the chant, to gently let the body find the natural rhythm of its own breath again. And to place awareness onto the sensations of the breath as it comes in and out of our nostrils. Feeling into the sensations on the side, on the walls of our nostrils when the breath comes in. Cool and refreshing. When the breath goes out, warm and healing. One of the names of God is Yud-He. And it's pronounced Yah. But you have to hear the He at the end when I say Yah. It's an out breath. The Yud is the exclamation point that connects the heaven with the top of our skull. And the He of the Yud He is the breath of the mouth. And through our chanting Yah, we manifest the transcendent divine flowing through us as breath, breath that becomes word, breath that becomes chant, breath that becomes creative power. I'd like to invite you, perhaps not physically, but at least in your heart, as you exhale, to imagine the Yud and the He, the Y and the H, to sound in your mind or physically. Yah. With every out breath. Yah. With every word, with every song, with every breath, we speak the name of God. And go at your own pace. And I'd like for the last three ones for everybody to unmute yourselves so we can hear the breath of God flowing through all of us. And as we let go of the practice, we'll close our meditation again with another name of God, the Shalom of harmony, the Shalom of wholeness, the Shalom that also means integration, the Shalom that is inner peace. Shalom. 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 And may this chant of Shalom, the breath of Yah, find all those around the world, all those in our life, in need of healing. Healing of body, healing of heart, healing of mind, healing of soul. That the divine breath that is our breath, that is all of our breath, might heal and make whole. That harmony might reverberate through every cell. That they might find within them the healing divine breath. On this Shabbat, we share in light of healing with those you have inscribed on our healing list. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, מי שברך אמותינו שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל, הוא יברך וירפא את Craig Wilson, Daniel Clark, Hillary Wilson, Phyllis Levin, Mike Levin, Farhan Hassan, Yitzhak Leib, Ben Bertha Aharon, Dave Malkoff, Maxwell Bernard, Susanna Davis, David Mark, Rebecca Risman, Richard Aharon Ben Chaim, Martin Yani, Shelly Cohen, Chris Machel Werner, David Shalloway, Marissa LeCabe, Pauline Morris, Reed Parcell, Mark Montefusco, Matt Frankhauser, Lauren Lee, Katie Cordes, David Shalloway, Lee Shalloway, Megan El Sayed, Jalal Jalain, Willow 8, Peter Metzger, Kevin Lipman, Simon Garcia, Jerry Pettis, Lois Gordon, Celia Curran, Tyler Brown, Mark Hopi, Dahlia Wellens, Cynthia Curran, Ed Diaz, Kyle Gregg, Dove Lehavi, Dorinda Regan, Kingsley Fairchild, Stanley Suffren, Wanda Zman Suffren, Shirley Balch, Mark Anderson, Bill Harris, Jerry Sanderson, Noah Etzioni, Pam Heller, Hai Cohen, Jan Lissa, and Lori. And we name in our hearts the names of those we hold in light of healing this Shabbat. ימלא רחמים עליהם לחזקם ולרפאותם ברפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף. And we share with them a song of healing, a song that Moses pleaded with God in an ancient wilderness to heal his sister Miriam. מי שברך. And we turn to page 13 in our prayer book as we are about to share in the Mourner's Kaddish together. Before we do so, I'd like to invite all of us to open our hearts, to open our minds to the memories all of us carry of those who have traveled with us on our journey, on their journey, and are continuing beyond this plane of existence on their own soul journey. On the Shabbat, we hold in light of memory those who have made their transition in recent days and weeks. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, the former Chief Rabbi of the United Kingdom, a great light, a great scholar. Gary Marmer, brother of Atit Marmer. Samvang Siamuth, a friend of Stu Heller. Fern Danker O'Connor, a relative of John Danker. Sari Lou Coden, a friend of Ellen Lyons. Marco Antonio Florian Corona, friend of Ellen and Michael Lyons. And the 26,290 of our fellow Americans who have died of the coronavirus since just this last Shabbat when we were together in the last 2 weeks. 26,290. On this Shabbat, we also hold in light of memory those who have made their transition in this past year. Teddy Freeman, Virginia Calvo, Marcia Jaffe, Lawton Waples, Millard Petersky, Deborah Batts, Marian Marika Gordon, Stella Altwies, Mary Rose, Dan Klein, Eleanor Gerber, Charlotte Klein, Alberta Hitzroth, Avraham Ben Moshe Veshendel, Marlene Klein, Mary Squeeze, Tim Schott, Janine Gilbert, Imogen Williams, Alden Olson, Don Worms, Emily Swartz, Dr. Carol Stanley, Robert White, David Heitmiller, Dr. Agnes Schuler, Dr. Dejo Schuler, and Jerry Crouch. On this Shabbat, we also hold in light of memory those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their transition, happens at this time of the year. Don Krupkin, Ephraim Glosser, Gladys Letnin, Millie Magid, Pamela Caulfield Balch, Royal Miller, Gerson Hoffman, Emma Norton, John Philip Balch, Ben Harris, Dennis Reagan, Germaine Ben Chaim. And we name in our hearts the names of those we each remember on this Shabbat. And we share the words of the Mourner's Kaddish together. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. May the one who creates harmony above make peace for us, for all the household of Yisrael, and for all the peoples of the world. And let us say, Amen. And before we conclude with blessing the bread and the wine, and with our concluding song, just a couple of reminders, announcements. We have our Beit Midrash continues tomorrow, continuing to devour Maimonides' Guide of the Perplexed. We're still perplexed, so if you still want to join us, you haven't missed much anything. It's at 10:30. The link to the Zoom room was in the email you received. And if you don't receive our emails, email info@betaleph.org, and we'll be more than happy to send you the link before tomorrow morning. Chanukah is starting next week. Our celebration, our community celebration, will be next Friday. It will be the 11th of December, if I'm correct. And we will be lighting the second candle of Chanukah Friday night. So please join us. It's going to be a ton of fun. Let me just say it like that. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be really joyous. And it's just so gorgeous to be able to light our candles together. Usually you have to put them, by your window. So I'm hoping we're gonna do the gallery view, and that everybody will have their candles like in front of their camera, so we can all take a look at all of our Chanukiot next week. So it starts at 7, and it's next Friday. That's all I have. We're gonna do a kiddush, so please find your kiddush cup, your bottle of wine, pour yourself, or juice, whichever works for you. Pour yourself a little cup, and when you're ready, just hold it like so. All right, I see a few cups there. I think it's time for us to switch to our community view, so we can see each other raising our cup. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Everybody say Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית. כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים. A good year. All right, find a challah or just some breads to cluster around. I'm putting it close to the camera so you can pretend you're touching the challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We're going to close with Hava Nagila. I found you with the squares.
It's me. It's a me. Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Venis Macha. Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Venis Macha. Havana ranana, Havana ranana, Havana ranana, Venus mecha. Havana ranana, Havana ranana, Havana ranana, Venus mecha. Urachim, urachim lev samea, urachim lev samea, urachim lev samea, urachim lev samea, urachim lev samea. Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Venus mecha. Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Venus mecha. ranana Havana ranana Havana ranana Venisbacha Havana ranana Havana ranana Havana ranana Venisbacha Achim urachim alef sameach urachim alef sameach urachim alef sameach urachim alef sameach urachim alef sameach.
I miss us doing the hora in the sanctuary. I so miss it. That was like, oh, that's what we would be doing right now.
So I put all of you on gallery view so I can watch you while I'm singing, and it's just the best.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Section though.
What?
I had to dance in a small section.
Yeah, I have this much room, but hey.
So Carol stood up and danced. I saw you, Carol.
Yeah.
I had to.
Of course.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you, musicians. Thank you, Rabbi. It was wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Do not miss Hanukkah.
Do not miss Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
We'll be here.
Olivier, I liked the
forward
dancing.
to it.
Did you see me dancing?
That was
Great,
amazing. That was delightful. Thank you so much.
I was channeling,
Yeah.
the Hasidim.
Had to do it.
That was great. Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom,
shalom.
everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.